Hi there, my friends from the United States, from Canada, from Australia, from Great Britain, or wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Piratava channel. My name is Erwin Annau, and today we are covering a subject that will be very, very important for everybody who is just thinking about moving abroad. This advice may save your savings, it may save your life savings, it will save your assets, and most probably also save your life. Because moving into another country normally ends with a disaster for 2/3 up to 90% of the people that move abroad. And I have been abroad. I've been an immigrant for 20 years and 10 years in Paraguay, 10 years in the United States. So I know what I'm talking about. And all of my mission is right now is to save you from going through the hell that we went through and help you to do the right decision, move to the country that fits you and nobody else. And this is independent from all the advices you get on the internet. So I can guarantee you that if you follow this advice, you will not lose money if you do what we tell you, and you will keep your freedom to change the country, because for minimum of 2/3 of the people, the country that you think you're going to move to will not be the ideal country once you live there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at info@piratava.com, info@piratava.com, and we'll be happy to answer your questions, and we'll help you to find the ideal solution that fits your budget and your needs and your desires. And even more than that, we'll coach you through until you reach your goal. We make a plan on how you can move into another country, how you can find a solution for your personal freedom, your financial freedom, and we coach you through until you get there. This may take a few months, this may take a half a year, this may take 2 years. It doesn't matter. But the most important thing is to keep your freedom of choice. That's basically what most of these people that are immigrating are losing with the first land they immigrate to. So let's start with the 5 best countries to move to. And you see me laughing because I did the work. I researched all the experts on YouTube to find the 5 best countries to move to. And this is what I found. And just to tell you ahead of time, at country number 50, I quit researching, and probably I would have found more than 50 countries as the best, quote, best 5 countries to move to. So let's go. Let's name these so-called 5 best countries to move to. Here we go. Abkhazia, Andorra, Argentina, Austria, Bahamas, Bali, Belgium, Bhutan, Botswana, Bulgaria, Cambodia, Canada, Chile, Costa Rica, Cyprus, Dubai, Fiji, France, Georgia, Great Britain, Hungary, Ireland, Iceland, Italy, Laos, halfway through. Okay, Malaysia, Mexico, Montenegro, Netherlands, New Zealand, Nicaragua, North Vietnam, Northern Cyprus, Panama, Paraguay, Poland, Portugal, Romania, San Marino, Serbia, Singapore, Spain, South Africa, Sweden, Switzerland, Thailand, Turkey, Uruguay, USA, Cyprus, Zanzibar. Here you have it. Here are your 5 best countries. I mean, that was easy, wasn't it? Now, out of the 195 recognized country by the UN, out of 195 recognized country, I just named you 25.64%. Well, as you can see, this does not work. We need to just put completely different criteria into the country that is ideal for you to immigrate. Now, here are the 12 most important criteria that you need to research into when it comes to choosing the ideal country for yourself. And we will do separate videos on each and every one of these points, and maybe a few points more, so that you really get a complete grasp to what it takes to choose a country, go there and find its ideal. But remember, the most important thing is, if you choose a country to go to, you must have a way out, a plan B, if that country, after all of your research, does not fit. Remember, 2/3 of the people are not happy in the country they choose. When they choose, they make their choice and their research from their home country, and then they go there. So let's talk about the first criteria. I think the foremost is taxes. Taxes why is it important? Because half of your money in Europe and in other countries too goes to the tax office. So it's very important for you to choose a country where you have tax freedom or minimal taxes. So for all of you US citizens, coaching is a little more complicated because you may have to consider giving up your citizenship. Some of our clients, especially the ones on the upper end of income or upper end of assets, they are actually giving up the US passport. No, you don't have to do that. You can still have solutions, but you bear in mind, if you're an American citizen, you are bound to that country, to the United States of America, no matter where you live. And you have a similar situation, by the way, for at least 5 years in Sweden. So let's look at these situations separately in private conversations. You contact me at info@piratava.com and we'll look at that, how to get out of the tax trap that you're in your own country. So territorial taxation. I would choose a country where you do not pay taxes for foreign income. Territorial taxation. You have that, for instance, in Paraguay, but there are other countries where foreign income is not taxable. And we will name them as we go along. And foreign income that is not taxable and allows you to build up an internet business. And we coach you into internet businesses, at least 2 internet businesses, that each and every one of them can make you a 6-figure income. But that's on another page. If you contact us, we'll let you know. So foreign income not taxable is one of the most important criteria for choosing the country to go to live in. Cost of living is a second most important one. I mean, if you have a lot of money, you can live in Switzerland or you can live in Andorra. Andorra is wonderful, but you need to have 490,000 euros assets to buy some real estate there, and then you need 49,500 euros a year of income. So it's okay. On the other hand, if you go into a country with high living costs, you also have a good infrastructure, you have a good internet, you have cultural events, you have traffic. Like Switzerland, you have trains everywhere. I mean, there's other things that are beneficial, but you certainly pay for that. So it is very important to take into consideration the cost of living, but most people forget water. Remember, if the water is bad, like in most areas of Thailand, where the water is chlorinated, in many, many cities of the United States, if you have chlorinated water and you need to buy bottled water, then life can be very, very expensive because you may use with your family 300, 400, 500 US dollars in terms of water every month. And that is it's nowhere in most calculations that people tell me about living costs. So remember, go to a country where you can easily live and use the water, maybe with a special filter. We can let you know what are special filters that you can actually buy where you get the cleanest water, no matter what the water is that comes out of the faucet. So geopolitical risk in time like these, where we have the war in Iran, where we have wars in the Ukraine, we have other crises worldwide, the geopolitical situation is very, very important. So the proximity to conflict areas is important. Does the country you're moving to have a lot of resources, like Venezuela, for instance, where then you have the big powers like China and Russia and the United States have robbed Venezuela of their silver reserves, for instance. So Venezuela is, for that reason, not a good country to move to. On the other hand, look into, does the country have connection to NATO? I mean, we do know that NATO has, ever since NATO exists, they have started a lot of wars, and I don't know if NATO is a peace alliance. I don't know. It's up to your choice, to your estimation. But are U.S. bases anywhere near? U.S. bases have been targets of rocket attacks. So just look at this. How far is the next nuclear-powered reactor? So these things you need to take into consideration. Freedom of speech. My friend, if you want to move to Great Britain or to Germany or there's probably some other countries too, Belgium, Netherlands, Belgium just hit the jackpot in terms of free speech. Don't move there, because if you plan to do a podcast to inform people of the conspiracy theories or other things that you think is important that people need to know, in Great Britain, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Germany, you may go to jail. And the last one was Belgium, where they had a judge that did a verdict where a person, a politician, actually was put to jail. No, it was in the Netherlands. In Netherlands, a politician was put to jail for telling the truth about immigrants, crime with immigrants and the situation with the immigrants. And he had a speech that was completely researched, all facts, 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 facts. But he was actually condemned to a fine. It was a criminal conviction for spreading hate speech when he actually just brought the facts to light. So energy costs, very important. Energy costs can be crucial in countries like Switzerland, can be crucial in other countries, even in large parts of the United States, eastern United States. On the other hand, when you look at Paraguay, energy is very, very, very low. You pay like a fifth or a seventh of what you pay in Germany. Climate is one of the most important criteria, but I'm not going to tell you about climates. You can research that. But what I'm going to tell you in one of the subsequent videos is about things that you are not really aware of. Humidity. Yeah, in Alabama and Georgia, there's a lot of humidity. And so that's, or in southern Florida, there's a lot of humidity. You know that. But even countries where the humidity does not show up immediately, like Paraguay, for instance, where the humidity is much less than Florida, but on the other hand, after 1, 2, 3 years, you find out that mold starts inside the closets. Mold is a problem because the humidity in some of these countries leads to mold that comes into the closets. It's a very, very hard thing. And if you have a mold allergy, you find that after 1 year, after 2 years, and it could very well be that you have to leave that country because you are using 100 tissues a day. That is something that you must know when you go into a country. Dust, very often underestimated. We had a lot of people leaving our project in Paraguay because there are dry times in Paraguay. You don't know that. So there are times like up to 8 months without rain. And then the dust can kill you. And there are people that have invested in houses, invested a lot of money, but had to leave because they got a dust allergy. So you need to really investigate much more than just the temperature and the weather and the sunshine and the rain. Social life, culture, is something going on? Do we have restaurants? Do we have bars? Yes, you say, well, I'm so happy to be far away from the city. Well, let's talk in a year or two. You will miss the concerts. You will miss a nice restaurant. So if you go to a place like we had in our project, 70 kilometers from the next biggest city or 12 kilometers away from a small city, yes, you must plan that you spend 3-4 months a year somewhere else because you're going to go crazy with a lot of people that did not have the budget to go on holidays. And once they were stuck for 2 years in that area and every day you see the same thing, they literally bombed out because they couldn't stand it anymore. So that's very important. Well, the other sex. Well, it is underestimated with a lot of singles that came to our project. But I mean, if you have only once or twice a year a member of the other sex that is somewhat interesting showing up, it is a problem. So we had a man like up to 40, 45 years old that left because they did not find a soulmate. And so this is something you need to know. If you are single and you are planning to find the most important other person in your life, then you need to actually calculate that into your choice of country, the level of education of the people that live in that country. Now, this is not a problem, not so much a problem if you just buy land, build a house, or buy a house. But if you plan to have a company there, if you want to do a project there, if you want to continue with your profession as a carpenter, as a car mechanic, or whatever you want to do, you will not be happy. I can tell you, it will give you a lot of stress if you go into a country where the educational level is very, very low. Paraguay, for instance, the education level is very low. A lawyer is not what you think a lawyer is, and a licenciado or a bachelor, it's not the same level. the education level is low, and there are smart people there, there are awesome people there, but they are rare. And you will actually go bonkers. You will go nuts if you run a company, if you run a restaurant, a hotel, any sort of endeavor, a farm, any commercial enterprise in a country with low education. You also have, in many people, a disability to think logical, to think complex thoughts. Why? Because their native language is very simple, a picturesque language. So what actually happens is that like we are used to in Europe or in the United States or in Canada, in developed countries, we can tell a person, well, you do this. If that doesn't work, you do this. If that doesn't work, you do this. You cannot do this in most countries in Africa, in South America, all over South America, because people have a much simpler way of thinking. That doesn't mean that they are not as good as you are. They may be much better in their feelings, in their senses, in the level of love that they have in their hearts, but their ability to think complex thoughts is limited. You must know that. And their ability to think logically, or their intelligence level, because intelligence also is a different thing. There is an intelligence for the poet, and there's an intelligence for the musician, and there's an intelligence for the guy who trains robots. And we are so focused that our viewpoint of intelligence is the logical intelligence, the trainer of robots. That's basically what you're thinking of. So if you plan to do a project, then probably most countries in South America, many countries in Asia, not all of them, many countries in Asia, and most countries in Africa will make you a lot of headaches. Just remember, like in Paraguay, people learn Guarani. So the mother tongue is Guarani. They learn Spanish at the age between 7 and 12, which means they speak a foreign language, which means their command of the language is nowhere near somebody who speaks that language from the first day of their lives. So that is very, very important. So their level of Spanish may be much worse, and that is basically what can make you go crazy if you plan to do a project, a farm, or a company. Corruption is a scourge for your project. Again, if you have just a piece of land, a house, and you plant your own salad, the only way you learn to know corruption in South America is if you get pulled over by the policeman and you have been speeding. So you give him 100,000 guarani and discreet so that nobody sees it, and he will let you go. That's the little corruption. But the problem that you have with corruption, if you do a project, if you do a company, a project, they put you, since you don't know the legal system, you don't know the ins and outs of the country, they will set traps. They will catch you in a trap, and we'll get into this in other videos. There is the traps of accidents. There is the trap of commercial endeavors and the trap of political involvement. So we'll go into that in detail. So remember, corruption is much, much worse than you think in most countries of the world. In Europe and in America, well, we are happy because corruption starts at about $100 million. The corruption is on a higher level. So most of you will not be a victim of corruption in Canada, in North America, and Europe. But in other countries, you are a victim of corruption just if you do a little more than just live in the country, live in peace, have your garden, grow your salad. That's basically a level where corruption doesn't really matter. Security. There's a lot of countries in the third world, in Africa, in Asia, and in South America where security matters. Like in Paraguay, if somebody wants to hire a killer, it costs between $1,000 and $5,000 US to hire a killer. So you must know that if you do anything that is involved with political, anything that is involved with social life in that country, then you may be a target. So you need to actually, the country you go to must be a country where you have no profile, where nobody knows you. You just have a house, a garden, you're on the internet. And if you then on the internet, you tell people the truth and you're a truther and you're telling them how bad the world is and you have your conspiracy theories in and out, then that's good. But in the country that you're living at, have no profile. Crime, so that ties into crime. Crime is not only the violent crime. For instance, Paraguay is pretty secure in most areas. And the areas that are not so secure, just don't go there. It's the same if you live in Boston, you just don't go to Roxbury. And you know that Roxbury for a white man may be a little tricky. But anyway, so crime is an issue. But it's this small crime that can go on your nerves. It's the housekeeper that steals. And we have seen in Asia, and we've seen in Paraguay, in South America generally, 90% of the people are honest. And there's a lot of honesty there. So let's put this in perspective. There are very honest people. We had in our hotel several instances where the cleaning women brought forgotten money, like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 that somebody forgot to take with them. They brought it and they gave it to us and we gave it to the owner. So most experience have been good, but 10% steal. Now the problem is if one of the 10% is your housekeeper, then you're not happy. And you also need to know something, and that you will encounter in Africa and in South America. The ethical level is different, and this is not a valuation. They're not good or bad, but their ethics is they are very poor, and they're so poor they have no windows in their houses. They have nothing to eat for their family, so they come into your house and they see you have 5 towels. You live as a single and you have 5 towels. Now, tomorrow, if you have one of these housekeepers, tomorrow you have 4 towels and you don't notice it, and maybe in the laundromat. And the next day you have 3 towels. And then if you start suspecting that your housekeeper may have taken the towels, and you ask them if you have a good relationship to them, they will tell you, you know what? You have 5 towels. You don't need 5 towels. You have 5 towels. You only need 3. So this is why I thought my family, we have no towels. We have to share the towels. So I thought it would be good for my family to just take 2 towels. And they don't feel bad. That's their ethics. That's their ethnic. That's the way they think. And don't invalidate that. Don't look down on these people. That's the way they think. So be aware that crime has different levels. It's not just the shooting crime and the drug crime. And by the way, in South America, most of the violent crime is within the circles of the drug people. So it does not really hit you, especially when you have a low profile. You will not notice any crime in most of the area. But again, another thing, if you buy a house, the one that sells you the house does not tell you that he has bought the house from another American, from another Canadian, from a German. And then later he found out that it was in a high crime area. And that happened. We have examples for that, where people bought a house. Half a year later, they found out, well, the lady that sold you the house sold it because she could not get out of the house because the house would have been ransacked within one day. We had people in Paraguay that we met in a shop, and then we told them, we come from our gated community. We're going to stay overnight in Asuncion and we'll just go shopping. And they said, wow, you stay overnight? You can't do that? And we said, why not? We just stay overnight in a hotel and we go back tomorrow. And then they told us in areas like Hohenau in Paraguay, people cannot stay away overnight because the house will be broken in and your computers and whatever has a value, it will be gone. So there are areas in South America, same thing in Asia, by the way, where you have to have somebody sit in the house and you cannot go on a holiday, you cannot go home. It's not a joke, it really happened. A German couple had to go to Germany for 4 months because their parents got sick. When they came back, you know what was left over of the house? The base plate. The base plate was left over of the house. Everything else was gone. I heard this meanwhile from Africa, I heard this from Asia, so this not only happens in South America. I guess we now have talked enough about the problems, so let's talk about the solutions. So what we want you to immigrate with as little risk as possible. And we want you to immigrate with a plan B. You think immigration is a plan B because now you live in Europe or in the United States and you say, well, I'm going to prepare the leaving and as a plan B, I move out. No. That's not the case. You need to have a plan B for your plan B. Remember that. You need a plan B for a plan B, because 2/3, and in some instances 80-90% of the people that move into a country leave that country because they're not satisfied with their new life. So let's talk about the plan B of the plan B. Move out of the country as little as possible and do not lose your life savings in the process of emigrating. So my advice is, number one, come to Paraguay and rent. Come to Paraguay and rent. Do not buy. That's very important. Do not buy anything. Absolutely nothing. Nada, zilch, zero. Do not buy. If you rent, you can leave every day. Any day you can leave. But once you bought, you're stuck in the country and you're not going to get out. And you will lose a lot of money if you want to get out. You may be stuck for years and you may even lose everything. Do not fall into the trap. Don't get screwed by the guy from your own country. I tell you how that works. Let's say you are an American and you come to Paraguay or to Asia or to Africa. It doesn't matter. And you go to the supermarket. You're just talking to your wife or your husband. And suddenly somebody else steps up to you and says, oh, you are from the United States. Where do you come from? Oh, South Carolina. Great. So, they start talking to you and they sort of befriend you. Very simple. Then they ask you, well, what you doing here? And they say, oh, well, I'm emigrating and I'm looking to buy me a house somewhere, a nice house with a garden and stuff. And you know what? As it happens, what a coincidence, they have a house for sale. Either they are realtors, or they have their own house for sale and they give you a short story, a story that's somewhat half what's true, not really all a lie, but they give you a story. My parents are sick, I have to go back to South Carolina or wherever they come from. As it happens, I have my house for sale. It's a very good price, and you know what? They will sell you the house. Maybe in a year later, that they have bought the house 5 years ago. After 2 years, they realized that Paraguay was not their country. And for 3 years, they have been talking to people in the supermarket to sell the house to. Then you have this perpetuation of fraud. I call it fraud. It's not a fraud, but it comes close to it. Somebody gets screwed, and their justification is, if I got screwed, I'm going to screw somebody else. We don't want to do that. Not with me and not with our people. We want you to have a different solution. This kind of practice where we are perpetuating the defrauding of the people from your own country, we're going to stop that. How do you stop that? By taking my advice. Do not buy anything. And by the way, no matter what you tell the guy or what you're looking for, the guy just happens to be able to offer it. So I've been making up products that don't even exist and say, well, I want to make a factory with that and that product that doesn't even exist. You know what? They knew somebody who could build me that factory. So it can be hilarious. You can really put this to the next level if you want to have fun. It's much better than watching TV. So, and just remember, if you go to Thailand as a dollar millionaire, you will return after a couple of years as a baht millionaire. 1 million baht is about 30,000 bucks. And worse, if you go to Paraguay as a dollar millionaire, you will leave Paraguay as a Guarani millionaire. That's about 161 US dollars. So why then go to Paraguay? It's a very important question that we're going to look at now. So now you have the most important advice that you will ever hear if you are starting to research immigration to another country. There is no more important advice. It's from somebody who went through hell, somebody who has seen it all. I can tell you, you don't need to go through this, because 2/3 up to 90% of the people that emigrate return to their home country without money. So don't fall into the trap. Contact us and we can help you put it somewhere else. Just to let you know, I have in 40 years of consulting, financial consulting, I've consulted more than 5,000 people, personal clients. 4,900 are very satisfied with me. The ones that make the noise is always the 100 that are not satisfied with you. So don't bother about this. I just can give you an idea why 4,900 people are satisfied with me. 20 years ago, I started being frustrated with most financial products. I started advising people to go into physical silver. Well, you can imagine that more than 4,000 people that actually went into physical silver, are they happy with me? Yes, because they bought silver at $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 an ounce. And you know where we are, 75 to 100. So anyway, we've covered that. You can be sure that I will advise you in a way so that it's good for you, not good for anybody else. So what you're gonna do with the money? First of all, if you have 12,000 US dollars or more, no limit, above can be 7 figures, whatever, we have a solution. We have solutions on how to park the money until you have decided where to buy your house. And we also give you advice on how to structure the purchase of your house with a foundation, with a non-profit organization. It's very important not only to invest in the country, but also in what kind of legal structure. If you have only 1,200 US dollars, then we show you how to generate the money with an internet business that you can make a 6-figure income within a year or two if you work. It only works if you work, of course, but if you only have a 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 in assets, then you may have to work in order to afford a life in another country. Now, if you only have 120 US dollars, well, then you really need to start your internet business with us, and we'll coach you through no matter what you have. With our 5,000 clients, we have a lot of clients that had little budgets, and they're now making already a couple of thousand a month, so they can get into the next stage, which is getting a scheduler in Paraguay, living there, renting. So now that we have covered the country to move to, the plan B of the plan B, and we have covered the don't buy, just rent policy that you should go by in any case, no matter where you plan to go, let's cover the subject of what am I going to do with my darn money? Because you're going to sell your house, you're going to sell your apartment, and then the question is, where am I going to put it? Well, one thing you probably already know, don't put it in the bank because you're going to lose it, be it because the banking system crashes or because of inflation, whatever. Don't put it in the bank. Buy yourself a house or an apartment or whatever you want to arrange in another country if you think another country is better, suits better for you. Now, here you have it. This is the most important information that you will ever hear on YouTube, no matter who those experts are, the most important information you got in this video. So what you're going to do now, you contact us at info@piratava.com, info@piratava.com, and we give you a free, no obligation analysis of your situation and a sketched out plan of which way to go, how to handle it, with assets, without asset. It doesn't matter. Everybody who wants to emigrate can realize this plan in a matter of a couple of months or 2 years. It is doable for everybody. So we coach you through, and with this free, no obligation, no risk, free consultation, you actually know the plan, you know where to go. So please like, share, and click. Put a like on this video, share it with your friends, help them to make the right choice when they emigrate, and click on the button below, info@piratava.com, and my secretary will schedule a free, no obligation analysis talk on Zoom. So I will see you hopefully very soon on Zoom. So I wish you the best. God bless you. Just live your dreams. Do whatever you want to do. Live your freedom in another country. Live the life you always wanted to live, and get the advice you need so that you make the right choice.